man who changed the world when he invented the light bulb. Thomas Edison was born on February 11, 1847, on a cold winter night. One day, Thomas Edison had a fever called scarlet fever, but became well of the illness. But there was one problem. He couldn't hear like he used to. When Thomas Edison was 12 years old, his dad found him a job as a newspaper boy that sold newspapers on a train from Port Huron and Detroit, Michigan. He also sold snacks like candy, sandwiches, and peanuts. Later, Thomas Edison took jobs from the Western Union and other cities. On October 27, 1879, Thomas Edison's light bulb invention glowed for 13 and a half hours. Over thousands of people poured in Menlo Park to see what Edison has done, and that is why you would want to listen to my Thomas Edison essay. Thomas Edison was born on February 11, 1847, on a cold winter night. He roamed everywhere and tried to find anything interesting, and nothing stopped him. One day, Thomas got a fever called scarlet fever, but he became better from the illness. There was one problem: he couldn't hear like he used to. Every time at school, his teacher will complain that Thomas was not paying attention. So Thomas's mom pulled him out of school, and her mom gives him really hard books to read all day. But his favorite one was a school compendium of Nutwell, experimental philosophy. Then he found a new hobby, and his new hobby was mixing chemicals from drugstores and feathers. When Thomas Edison was 12 years old, his dad found him a job as a newspaper boy that sold newspapers from the train from Port Huron and Detroit, Michigan, and also sold snacks like candy, sandwiches, and peanuts. One day, a train was about to hit the station master's 3-year-old boy, Jimmy. So Thomas swept to the train tracks and saved him. Why he is famous. Thomas Edison was famous for many reasons. For example, when Thomas was younger, he was very curious, and one time he wondered if birds fly because of what they eat. He mixed water and mashed worms. He put them in a cup and tried to make somebody drink it. Then he made his next-door neighbor drink it, but she ended up getting sick, and so Tom got whipped with a birch branch. Thomas's mom pulled him out of school because he struggled to listen, and her mom gave him really hard books to read all day. His favorite one was the school compendium of Nutwell, experimental philosophy. So when he went to do a new hobby, and his new hobby was to mix chemicals from drugstores and feathers. When Tom was a teenager, he saw a train about to hit the station master's 3-year-old son, Jimmy. So then Tom dashed out into the tracks and pulled him to safety. As thanks, the station master offered to teach Tom about telegraphy, and Tom accepted the offer. Other fun facts. One day, a young woman named Mary Sitwell at Tom's company. Mary and Tom fell in love. 3 months later, they married. They married on Christmas Day. Over the years, Tom and Mary had 3 children. First came Marianne, and then Thomas Jr., and their last son, William. In 1884, Tom suffered a terrible loss. His wife, Mary, died of an illness, and Tom had to stay with his children in New York City to take care of. But one day, another young woman named Mina, and they immediately fell in love with each other. Mina and Tom were married in 1886 and moved to a grand home. Conclusion. Nothing would stop Thomas from exploring. When Thomas was younger, he was very curious. One time he wondered if birds fly because of what they eat, so he knew that birds ate worms. So he added some water with mashed worms and put them in a cup and tried to make somebody drink it. Then he made his next-door neighbor drink it, but she ended up getting sick, and so Thomas got whipped with a birch branch. Until one day, a train was about to hit the station master's 3-year-old boy, Jimmy. So Thomas swept to the train tracks and saved him on October 22nd, 1879. Thomas Edison's light bulb invention glowed for 13 and a half hours. Over thousands of people poured into Menlo Park to see what Edison has done. And that